An ESPN executive just said something about Caitlin Clark that explains everything about where the WNBA is right now.
We were entering this new territory. You have Dave Portnoy betting on the Indiana Fever and, talking about women's college basketball like they talk about men's college basketball.
These words reveal why the entire league's future might depend on whether one player can stay healthy. And the stats that back up what she said are absolutely insane.
And now you are seeing this tremendous growth. I think it just came out earlier today. From a revenue standpoint, we're up 72% over a 2 year time period.
Susie Piotrkowski is an ESPN executive. And in March, she went on record calling Caitlin Clark a gateway drug for some people to women's sports. Gateway drug, those are her exact words. And she meant it in the most positive way possible, but think about what that actually means. A gateway drug is something that introduces you to something bigger. You start with one thing, and it opens the door to everything else. That's what Piotrkowski is saying about Clark. People show up to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball, and then they discover the rest of the WNBA. They discover other players. They discover women's sports as a whole. Clark is the entry point. Now, you might be wondering, is that actually true? Or is this just an ESPN executive hyping up their product? Let me show you the numbers, because what happened during the 2025 WNBA season proves she was absolutely right. Caitlin Clark played 13 games last season. That's it. 13 games out of a 44-game season. She dealt with a groin injury. Then she sustained an ankle injury during her rehab. For a player who had never really sat on the sidelines before, it was brutal.
But like I said, I've never really sat on the sidelines before, so it's a very humbling experience and gives me a good perspective on how to be a great teammate and a great leader and show up every single day for them.
Caitlin, what's that? Clark admitted it was a humbling experience. She's used to being on the court every single night. That's who she is. And sitting on the bench, watching her team play without her, watching the league move forward without her on the floor, had to be torture for someone that competitive. But here's where it gets crazy. Even with Clark missing 31 games, the WNBA still grew. Broadcast during the 2025 season averaged 969,000 viewers across ESPN networks, ION, and CBS. That's a 3% increase compared to 2024, when Clark played in all 40 of the Fever's games as a rookie. Think about that for a second. Clark played in less than a third of her team's games, and the league still grew viewership. That should tell you two things. One, the WNBA is in a healthier place than it's ever been. And two, Caitlin Clark's impact in those 13 games was still massive enough to move the needle. The 4 most watched games of the 2025 season all featured Caitlin Clark. All 4. The biggest audience of the year was the Fever versus Chicago Sky season opener. 2.7 million viewers tuned in to watch that game. That's not a WNBA record, but it's a massive number for a regular season game. And it was all because people wanted to see Caitlin Clark. So even when she was only available for 13 games, those 13 games carried the league's viewership. The gateway was still open. People were still showing up to watch her. And once they were there, they stuck around for the rest of the season. If you want breakdowns like this on Caitlin Clark, the Fever, and everything happening in the WNBA, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now let me show you just how dependent the league has become on her. Now let's talk about what happens when Caitlin Clark is actually healthy and available to play. Because the numbers get even more ridiculous. Indiana remained the league's biggest attendance draw in 2025, even with Clark missing most of the season. When the Fever played on the road, they averaged 15,884 fans per game. That's 4,000 more fans than any other team in the league. 4,000. That means when the Fever come to town, opposing teams are selling out arenas. They're packing buildings. They're making money at the gate that they wouldn't make with any other opponent. And the reason is simple. People want to see Caitlin Clark play basketball. It doesn't matter if she's healthy or not. It doesn't matter if she's scoring 30 points or sitting on the bench in street clothes. The mere possibility that she might play is enough to drive ticket sales. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. But here's the question that should terrify the WNBA. What happens if she gets hurt again? What happens if the gateway closes? Right now, Clark is entering her 3rd WNBA season. She's fully healthy. She's fully cleared. and she's prioritizing taking care of her body in a way she's never had to before.
I'm the person that doesn't want to sit out a single rep. Like, I want to be in there every single time. Like, I just love competing and I love playing, and none of that has changed. But I think just like being a little bit smarter with my body and understanding what it takes. And I think especially like through camp days, like these days are really long. Like, you're on the court 2.5, 3 hours and putting in a lot of stuff. So, taking care of my body at this point in the season is probably the most important thing.
Clark is being smart. She's learned from last season. She knows that her body breaking down cost her and cost her team. The Fever made it to the WNBA semifinals without her. That's impressive. But imagine what they could have done with her healthy. Imagine what the league's viewership numbers would have looked like if she had been available for all 44 games instead of just 13. And that's the reality the WNBA is facing right now. The league has grown. Other stars have emerged. Teams like New York, Las Vegas, and Connecticut have proven they can compete at the highest level. But when it comes to driving casual fans to tune in, when it comes to selling out arenas on the road, when it comes to moving the needle in a way that makes executives and sponsors pay attention, there's only one name that does it consistently. Caitlin Clark. The ESPN executive wasn't exaggerating when she called her a gateway drug. She was being honest. People who have never watched women's basketball before will tune in to watch Caitlin Clark. And once they're watching, they discover players like Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Aja Wilson. They discover that the WNBA is full of incredible talent. But they have to walk through the gateway first. And right now, Caitlin Clark is that gateway. So what happens in 2026? The Fever are one of the betting favorites to win the WNBA Finals. They currently have the third highest odds at most sportsbooks, sitting behind only the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. That's a significant jump from where they were just 2 years ago. And the reason for that jump is obvious. They have Caitlin Clark, they have Aaliyah Boston, who just signed the richest contract in WNBA history. They have Kelsey Mitchell, one of the best scorers in the league. They have depth. They have coaching. And most importantly, they have health, or at least they're hoping they have health. The Fever's first preseason game is Saturday against the New York Liberty. That's going to be a massive test. The Liberty are loaded. They've retooled their roster, and playing them in preseason will give Indiana a real sense of where they stand. But the game everyone is circling is May 9th. That's when the Fever open the regular season at home against the Dallas Wings. And the Wings are bringing the last 2 #1 overall picks in the WNBA draft, Azzi Fudd and Paige Buchers, both former UConn stars, both incredibly talented. That game is going to draw massive viewership. Caitlin Clark versus Paige Buchers, 2 generational college players facing off in the WNBA. It's the kind of matchup that sells itself. And if Clark is healthy, it's going to be appointment television. But that's the key phrase. If Clark is healthy. Because everything the WNBA has built over the past 2 years, all the momentum, all the viewership growth, all the increased attendance, all the new sponsorships, it's all connected to one player being available to play basketball. That's not a sustainable model. That's a dependency. And dependencies are dangerous. The league knows this. The Fever know this. And Caitlin Clark knows this. That's why she's prioritizing her body. That's why she's being smart about her workload in training camp. That's why she's not trying to do everything in every single practice rep. Clark also said something else that stood out. She mentioned that she's only appeared in 2 playoff games in her entire WNBA career. 2 games. For someone as competitive as she is, that has to drive her crazy. She's built her entire basketball career on winning. She won a national championship at Iowa. She's been the best player on every team she's ever been on. And in the WNBA, she's played 2 playoff games. That's the fuel. That's what's going to push her this season. She wants to win. She wants to prove that the Fever can compete for a championship. And she wants to stay healthy long enough to actually do it. So here's what it all comes down to. The ESPN executive was right. Caitlin Clark is a gateway drug for the WNBA. She brings people in, she creates fans, she sells tickets, she drives viewership. And the numbers prove it, but the league can't depend on one player forever. At some point, the gateway has to lead somewhere sustainable. At some point, the casual fans who show up for Caitlin Clark have to become actual WNBA fans who show up for the product, not just the star. And that transition is happening. Slowly, the league is growing. Other players are getting recognition. but it's fragile. And if Caitlin Clark goes down with another serious injury, if she misses another 31 games, the question is whether the momentum continues or whether it stalls out. The Fever are building a championship contender. The WNBA is building a sustainable league. And both of those things depend on Caitlin Clark staying healthy. The ESPN executive said it out loud. The stats prove it's true, and now the pressure is on Clark to deliver a full, healthy season. What do you think? Can Caitlin Clark stay healthy for a full season? And is the WNBA too dependent on one player? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest on the Fever, Caitlin Clark, and everything happening in the WNBA. We'll see you in the next one.